Welcome to the Beau Show and this Independence Day edition. Since Independence Day is coming up, I wanted to devote today's show to that holiday's remembrance, as well as a song that helps us commemorate it. Oftentimes, music encapsulates epochs of time and can reflect our values and attitudes. And I think that in the interest of honoring the tradition of celebrating the July 4th holiday, I'd like to use a musical theme to express it. So what I would like to do today is honor our country's 246th birthday through a musical lens. You have seen that many of our nation's traditions have been eroding. Many believe in destroying any sense of traditionalism so that a new global progressivism can take its place. Globalism has been gaining momentum, and you even see things like the Global Citizen Festival, and you hear people frequently use the term human to be some sort of term of endearment. We hear terms like African American and Latinx, but we don't really hear people refer to each other as fellow Americans the way presidents tend to. It's almost as if culture has decided to do away with what unites us and look for what can divide us. So you're not a Black American, you're an African American. You're not an American with Hispanic roots, you're Latinx. In fact, you're now a pronoun rather than a person. Your pronouns have become more important than your culture and your American identity. And we should embrace our individualism, but identity politics is designed to inflame tensions and create division. It's like we have built this house that is America, and people want to remove bricks from it like a game of Jenga. Even spiritually and religiously, we see disconnections. Look at the recent Kennedy versus Bremerton School District case in Washington State, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the school district censored a coach's right to express his faith. You have groups out there that want there to be zero religious expression, but are happy for others to express their private interests if it fits with some sort of trend or movement. Even the conversation over privacy and life itself has become a source of division. So what we see in today's society is not a sense of bonding or unification, but rather a source of division. Sports have become sources of division, not because one team dislikes another, but because sports have inherently fallen into political traps. Major companies like Disney have also fallen into this trap and alienated a lot of their customers. Disney is supposed to give hope to all of us, where we can collectively dream and wish upon that star. But instead, they chose a path that has now divided us. Even the American flag itself has become a symbol of division for some people. Look at this New York Times article titled "A 4th of July Symbol of Unity That May No Longer Unite." It's sad that people start making presumptions about those who fly the American flag. And some have chosen to kneel at the sight of the American flag and national anthem. And while they may have a just aim or cause in mind and legitimate concerns about how people are treated, it has further divided us. The summer of 2020 might have been some of our darkest days yet. Buildings ablaze, riots in the streets. Once again, it has been our differences that have come out of this, not our ties and bonds. And I think that may be because people have found a way to profit from division. There's a certain market value to it. And so wherever there is strife, money can be made. And I think that's a sad realization. But what I want to do is do the opposite of that. I want to look at the song America the Beautiful and remember why it's so beautiful. Its lyrics were written by Katherine Lee Bates and composed by church organist and choirmaster Samuel A. Ward at Grace Episcopal Church in Newark, New Jersey. The two never met. Bates's poem was originally called Pike's Peak and appeared in the July 4th, 1895 edition of the church periodical The Congregationalist. Ward had written the melody for a song called Materna, the basis of the hymn, "O Mother, Dear Jerusalem." What is most interesting is although Bates and Ward never met, they both wrote their respective parts of the song after trips in which they were inspired by various American landscapes. Bates by her view from Pikes Peak, and Ward after a ferry ride from Coney Island. It wasn't until 1910 that the words and the music were married together, which was 7 years after Ward died, who never knew the legacy his melody would create. There have been movements to make America the Beautiful another national anthem or hymn, but those efforts have failed. So now let's look at those iconic words that were inspired by the view from Pikes Peak in Colorado. I was recently performing in Washington, D.C., and found myself with very rare alone time at the Jefferson Memorial, where I sang this first verse.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
So in this first verse, Bates notes the spacious skies, the amber waves of grain, the purple mountain majesties, and the fruited plain. This is a very vivid, colorful portrait that she paints, as well as a Thomas Kincaid painting could depict. And then a reference and thanks to the divine. God shed His grace on thee. And also a mention of America's good. Crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. So in this first iconic verse, the one that most people know and recognize, she not only speaks of America's physical beauty, but her intrinsic beauty. The beauty of being a good nation, a noble one that has brotherhood as a commonality. Do you see why we need to understand these lyrics? What about our current activism and movements speak to crowning good with brotherhood? We have one sea in the west, the Pacific Ocean, and one sea in the east, the Atlantic Ocean, and in all that territory in between. Where can we find the good? Where can we find the brotherhood? Everywhere we turn, we see signs of division. Gas prices are high, and the average price for a July 4th cookout will be 17% higher than 2021. You've noticed this, I'm sure, at your local grocery store. And we also went through a pandemic. So we need to come together as Americans, not find more sources of strife and division. Now let's turn to Bates' second verse. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet, whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Now she speaks about pilgrims, which is relevant because their plight and harrowing journey to America was a tough road. They came here for many reasons, but one of which was to practice their religion freely, without intrusion or persecution. Think of the stern, impassioned stress of those pilgrims who pursued the avenue for freedom. She speaks of the stress creating the beat, or the rhythm of freedom. America began with a certain pulse and a soul, and those early pilgrims provided that pulse. They escaped disease and death, as many simply did not survive that first winter. Their first Thanksgiving was a result of giving thanks for enduring the journey in that first brutal winter. We have the luxury of having turkey made for us today, but they had to go hunt for various fowl. We don't give these pilgrims enough credit. What you often see today is a revisionist version of America that makes it appear to be a bad place. Few people look at our history with a proper lens. And there's so much to be celebrated, especially when it comes to sacrifice, which Bates addresses in the third verse, which goes like this. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. This third verse is the most warlike in terms of how it honors the sacrifice and strife of heroes. She speaks of their selflessness. You know, when I was just in Washington, D.C., I went to the National Archives because if you look at the Declaration of Independence, the ink is fading very, very fast. In fact, in its current form, there are 3 words that seem to be inked in darker and stand out from all the rest. Look closely. The words free and independent stand out on this sadly fading document. You can see them better here. Do you notice how the font is even different? I tried to find out why that was, and I've not been able to. But those words, free and independent, is at the core of the American experiment. And later in this verse, she writes, America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. It is clear that Bates believed in God, something that continually tends to be chipped away at in modern times. But I think it's a relevant notion that America has gold that God can refine. And then, till all success become nobleness. The idea that success should be noble, that success is part of America's gold treasure, and every gain that we have can be divinely linked or divinely purposed. I think that is the trajectory that America affords, this divinely purposed land of opportunity. And the more that we refuse to honor the gold we've been given, the less our gains will be divine. We can't build the structure if the bricks keep being taken away. I understand that the flag means different things to different people, but it should still be a source of unity, not division.